Hey guys, welcome back to the backtesting series. We left off at euro dollar last week. We are now going to continue with CHFJPY. So before I get started, you guys know me. You know that I don't believe in that every pair can be a profitable pair. So please keep in mind that there are going to be profitable pairs. I've gotten a couple of questions saying, do you get a 40 to 60% win rate on every pair? That's just not the way trading works in general. If anyone tells you that, they are lying. So let's take a look. We left off at euro dollar. Very good. 60% win rate, 16 trades. We're going to continue with CHFJPY right now. Now, some people ask me, why do I cross test pairs? And I'll explain that in just a second. So what I do is I don't test euro dollar, GBP dollar, AUD dollar. No, the way I test is I'll go from euro dollar to CHFJPY to AUD JPY to AUD CHF, basically just cross testing the pairs and not really testing the same pairs. Why? Well, because I believe that if you test, for example, euro dollar and then AUD dollar and then GBP dollar, you're essentially going to get the same results a couple of times in a row. Now, ultimately, you want to test all of these pairs. That's the end goal. You want to have all of these pairs tested, but they are correlated pairs, and you have to keep that in mind when you're testing, is these pairs are correlated. So that means that the results that you're going to get are fairly similar. Doesn't mean you should skip out on them. Just means that if you're testing them all similarly and at the same time, you're going to get 4 or 5 times the same results, or at least very similar results. And that's just kind of not what you want, especially in the early stages of your backtesting journey, so to say. You don't want to have trades that are all the exact same. All right, enough talk. Let's get right into it. We are now on euro or CHFJPY. And we see the very first trade over here. It's a little bit of a small trade. It looks like I might have missed it actually, because I might have been a little late. Now, that's obviously part of trading too. You are going to miss setups, and there's no way around that. Okay, so that looks like I missed it, and that looks like it would have been a winning trade. So I missed our first winning trade, or basically our first trade in general. Now, I'm not too worried about that. I know a lot of people will be panicking and be like, okay, shit, well, what now? Do I have to restart? No, don't restart, because this is not the first time it happened probably, and it's definitely not going to be the last time that it happens. That's literally just the way the market works. You can never fully avoid that. All right, we see another trade. Now I'm going to start breaking them down a little more. We have a high and we have a low, and our break is basically located over here. Our imbalance is located over there. So it's an extremely simple trade. I don't even really take liquidity into account. Now, what you'll notice is that simplicity. At the end of this series, it's not done yet. Maybe if you're watching this a couple months later, it'll be done. But simplicity ultimately leads to the most profit, is something that you will notice, especially as we go on in this series, that it doesn't have to be a difficult trade. Now, I deleted that trade because it basically got close to the target, but then went down quite a bit. But yeah, like I said, you'll figure out soon enough that simplicity is really all that matters. Because simplicity leads to what I call repeatability, basically meaning that you can repeat it often. And if something is easy to repeat, it means you can do it often and for a long period of time. The same with brushing your teeth. Imagine if you had to brush your teeth and it would be the most difficult task in the world. You would never want to brush your teeth. But because it's so simple and easy to do, you consistently do it. And that's really the reality of trading too. I know it might sound like a weird analogy, but it's true. So the very first trade that we have is a break-even trade. I'm not going to add that there. And let's continue. We do get a short trade right after, but we don't see a body closure. And one of my rules is needing to see a body closure that we do get now, actually. So, but it looks like once again I did miss that trade. Okay, so this is a losing trade that I avoided. In reality, there's a good chance that I would have taken it, but like I said, this happens. Sometimes you'll miss out on a couple of trades. Sometimes you'll miss a winning trade. Sometimes you'll miss a losing trade. That's really just part of it. As long as you don't try and sugarcoat it and be like, well, I would have taken that win, but I would have avoided that loss because of X, Y, and Z. Don't be lying to yourself like that. I know there's a lot of traders who like to sugarcoat it. Really, no one benefits from that except, well, no one actually. You're hurting yourself so much when you're sugarcoating your trades. All right, let's see what we get. One got relatively close to target, but that's a break-even trade. Trade number 2 is a break-even trade. So what I want to show you guys too is I want to give you a realistic idea of what trading actually is. And I want you guys to understand that it's all about the numbers. I know on YouTube, there's a lot of videos of people saying, I backtested my strategy and I had a 90% win rate. And then they had 10 trades and they had 9 wins. But that doesn't mean a thing, because it's not as profitable as having 10,000 trades, for example, but having a 55% win rate. Which a lot of people don't seem to understand, is that it's all a game of numbers, really. It's not really about getting a high win rate or improving the win rate, which a lot of people think it is. But that's not really the most important thing for trading. Okay, got another trade here. There's always people who are going to be like, well, I need a high win rate for X, Y, and Z. It's easier mentally, first loss. And that's fine, you know, if you think it's easier mentally. But I personally believe that if you experience pain when you lose a trade, then you don't have your mind under control. And then the issue is not within your technical analysis. Your issue lies within the fact that you don't have your mentality under control, your mindset under control, basically. And if you don't have your mindset under control, it doesn't really matter how profitable you are or how much you win, because every loss is going to feel like a punch in the face, really. Okay, break even, another break even trade. And keep in mind too, we are going to have pairs within this series that are going to be just losses. For some people, that might be hard to fathom because they've never tested more than 100 trades. But we are definitely going to have pairs within this series, like I said, that are going to be losing pairs, that are going to be down 5R, 10R. And if you cannot accept that, that trading genuinely is not for you. See another valid trade over here. Might even be this pair. This pair might lose us 10R. But at the end of the year, if we can manage to get to around 50 to 100R, then we are extremely profitable. Another loss over there. Now, what's common with people is that every loss is something that they want to analyze. Every loss is something that they think they can learn from. Now, that's the same as tossing a coin, saying that you believe it's going to be heads, and then once you lose that coin toss, it's going to be tails. You're going to be like, well, shit, what did I do wrong? And the answer is nothing. You didn't really do anything wrong. That's just the way a coin toss works. There's no body closure here, so I'm not taking that trade. And we can have a losing streak of 5 or 6 trades in a row. But as long as we're basically trading according to the rules, then what we are doing is perfect. There's no reason to ever really doubt it. Now, I really hope that I'm able to give you guys an idea of what this is, what trading really is. I'm going to be leading that because it's too far gone. But I do want to give you guys an idea of what trading really is, and I don't want you guys to fall for all the 90% win rate crap, because that's all just bullshit, really. All right. I was going to say I was going to wait for that to retrace, but it looks like that would have been a news scandal, so I would not have been involved in that. I don't really pay attention to news, but when a candle like that happens, you don't even really have time to place your trade anyways. All right, another trade over there. So like I said, if you want to have access to all of this data, it's available in our community. We share every single trade that we take. We share all the trades that we have tested as well. So feel free to check that out and learn from it if you want. We have multiple coaches. They all trade slightly different. So it's a good way to basically get to learn your own style, which I think is really important too, you know, developing your own style. Don't just try to copy what I'm doing, but take this and make your own style out of it. That's ultimately what's going to lead to you being profitable in the long run. Okay. First winning trade, and we are pretty much back at break even. And that's how fast it goes when you're using a positive RR. An RR that's a little higher than 1-to-1, obviously. Okay, see another trade here. So the reason I didn't take this trade is because we never really got a closure below. We never really got a break of structure in general. Okay, what we see here, once again, a fairly simple trade. Now I'll break it down in just a second. You have your high, low, lower low, break over there, imbalance over there. Genuinely, it's as simple as that. Some people might not believe it, but that is the truth. It's simple, and you have to keep it simple, otherwise you're going to go crazy. Break even. Now, obviously, we are doing these weekly on YouTube. We do this in the community as well. And not only do we do this, but we'll backtest together with some members and we'll ask them for their opinions on trades, etc. Just so they can kind of get an idea of where our head's at with these trades and start learning from that and maybe somewhat replicate it. Like I said, you have to develop your own style at the end of the day. You don't want to copy our style, but still, it's a good way to learn from it. Okay, this is a valid trade over here. Fairly simple trade. So what you'll notice is that I'm really focused on just the recent price action. Where a lot of people will take into consideration what's to the left, I'm mainly pretty much only focusing on what I see right in front of me, which is this piece of price action right there. Because I believe, that's a win, I believe focusing on what's to the left makes it more complicated than it needs to be. And this strategy literally is a one time frame strategy. Like, I don't really see the need in doing top-down analysis, mainly because top-down analysis leads to a higher win rate. A higher win rate, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily lead to more profit. Okay, so I'll delete that. I was going to take that, but I'm not going to take that because it got relatively close to my entry, then got relatively close to target. So that's one of my rules. If it gets really close to my entry and then close to target, then I'll delete the trade. Choppy price action like this is something that I will avoid as well. And usually, like you saw in the last video too, this occurs right around the summer months. You see a lot of the times that the summer months tend to be really slow. So let's continue. Never really get a proper break over there. Let's see. Okay, question that I get pretty often too is which high or which low in this case do I take? That one or that one? Depends. You want to be more conservative? Take that one. You want to be more aggressive, meaning that your win rate will most likely be lower. And then you want to take the more recent one. I personally care more about my frequency, because the way it works is if you want to have a lower win rate, then your frequency will go up, so the trade frequency will be higher. And I care more about my trade frequency rather than I care about my win rate. So that's a missed trade. I will delete that. Where a lot of people care more about their win rate, which is fine, but not for me. All right, let's see. All right, this is a trade that it looks like we missed. I was going to take that, but it already tapped me in. It hit break even, so it left without me. And that's what happens too. Sometimes the platform does lag a little bit. Like I said, you just have to ignore that. Kind of not really getting a proper break either down here. So what's important, especially if you go down a lot, is to keep that zoom level consistent. You saw how I was slowly starting to zoom out a little bit more, but I caught myself doing that just now. And that's just one of those moments where I'm like, okay, shit, snap out of it. You know, I got to stay at the same zoom level. All right, it looks like I might have missed this trade, but still is relatively close to entry. So I'm going to try to still enter into it. If we get that chance, we do. And it ends up being a break-even trade. So what I would like to do eventually is I would like to have a series on YouTube in which I just tested over 1,000 trades live on YouTube, either during a live stream or during these videos. That breaker structure is debatable, to be honest with you. It's not really a body closure, so I'm not going to take that. But I would love to have 1,000 trades tested live on stream and multiple years of data. It's going to take a long time, obviously, but that'd be awesome. I think we'd be the only people who would have ever done that. Because backtesting is so much more important than people think. Because it's not necessarily just to see if a strategy works. It's also to kind of train your mind into being okay with losing. Because you know for a fact that you can afford to lose an X amount of times in a row. Right? And that's very important as well. All right, that one, I should have deleted it because I got too close to my entry and then too close to break even. I didn't, however, so let's see what happens. It ends up hitting break even anyways. But let's move on to the next one. This pair so far seems like it's a rather choppy pair. And it looks like I might have missed out on this trade over here. There we go. Break even. That's what happens too, right? A lot of people would be like, well, shit, I hit break even, and then afterwards it got really close to my TP. Should I have done something different? And the answer is no. You should not do something different based on the outcome of an individual trade. Essentially, you don't want to focus on the outcome of an individual trade. That doesn't ever really lead to anything good because it's the same as, you know, panicking when a coin flip hits heads or tails, even though the chances are 50-50. Say you got a 35% chance of winning and you know that for a fact, then there's really nothing you need to do aside from just let that play out in the long run. Pretty much all that there is to it. That's why trading is very simple once you start to get the hang of it. Professional traders really don't do anything else other than the same thing they have been doing for the past couple of years. That's why it's so fucking boring to do full time. It's probably the most boring job there is. Literally doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, not adjusting anything. Of course, maybe in the span of a couple of years, you can make some changes to improve your strategy because you've collected so much data, live and backtested data. But overall, there's not much you need to change, really. I've been doing the exact same thing for years now, and it's very boring, I'll tell you that. It's extremely boring. But, you know, it makes me money, so I guess I'll just keep doing it. And that's what matters, really. If it makes you money, then there's really no reason to not do it. We're up 7R, 7.7R. I'm not sure how that became 7.7, maybe because our TP isn't always exactly 3, but sometimes it's 3.05, sometimes it's 2.9. So let's say break even trade. All right, so it's lagging again. That's something that FXReplay likes to do. It likes to lag out. Not exactly sure why, but another valid trade over there. Might be a little late, but I think I can still enter into that. Say loss -1, so we're down to 6.6R. Very solid, nevertheless. Never really getting a proper break below there, so that's why I'm not going to be taking that short position over there. This is a valid trade, but it looks like we might have missed out on it. Still going to try to enter into it, but it looks like we might have missed this one. So if it goes back up now, I'll delete it. Oh, it actually stops us out at break even. So people need to understand the complete image, right? It's not one pair that you're testing. It's not one pair that's going to determine if you're profitable or not. It's the combination of multiple pairs all at once combined basically into one strategy. So I trade 28 pairs, right? So even if in 2025, the year that I'm recording this video in, even if I now have 10 losing pairs, I'm still going to be able to come out profitable. I still am going to come out profitable. Does that mean that I instantly delete the other pairs? No. Why not? Because there's a good chance that next year, euro dollar, for example, will be unprofitable, even though this year it made me a lot of money. So that's one thing to remember too. We're going to delete this trade because it got really close to entry and then went really close to target. Also, we are approaching the month of December. So this is basically the last month that I trade in. I don't trade past December 15th. You guys know this, or at least if you watched my last video, you know this. That's usually when I quit. That's unfortunate. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get tapped into that. That looks like it's a final win. I'm not sure if that would have stopped you out of break even. It could have been a break even instead, to be fair, with that candle, but I'm not sure. We would have to go to the lower time frames. In this case, I'm going to be taking it from this candle. Why? Well, this is obviously some sort of news induced candle. So I'm going to be taking it from the next one that is not news induced. I want actual price action to trade with, and I don't want to trade necessarily news candles. Doesn't happen too often, a scenario like this, but if it does, then it's good to keep in mind. Okay, that's a missed trade. And then this should be December 15th. This might be the last trade that we have this year, because December 15th is when we will stop trading. But let's see. Yep, we are now December 15th, so that's it for the year. Let's skip to the end. Let's see what the results are going to be. We had a 50% win rate. We started out the year being unprofitable. Let me just take the screenshot tool for myself just to paste it in there. We started out the year being unprofitable for the first couple of months, then we had a good final quarter. Let's take a look at the session combined so far. See what we have so far. We've got a 55% win rate, but we only have 37 trades, so it's nothing to go off of really. This should eventually stabilize right around the 30 to 35% win rate level, maybe 36, 37, with around 300 to 400 trades per year. So that's what we're going to aim towards during these videos. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you want to download the strategy, the link is down below. If you want to ask me any questions on Discord, reach out to me. My Discord should be up here. Thank you guys for watching. Take care. I'll see you next week.